Hey everyone, welcome to POPXP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the POPXP channel. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here, Nile Scala with POPXP, and joining me tonight is, who is this dashing gentleman here?
I'm Ursat's Mark Brooks.
What a handsome down. Oh, hey, Ursat, you got a bit of a condition there?
Yeah, I don't know, my Clark Gable. I'm schwitzing here, and I'm losing my mustache. Well, so much for me being Errol Flynn, huh?
I know.
How are you, Scala?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You're looking great.
You're looking great.
We have great guests, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful night, my friend.
It's going to be a great, great show. I mean, just let's run off our guests for tonight. You know, we have, first and foremost, my lovely bride, Deborah, will be joining us, along with Sorah Suhng, Joanie Brosas,
yes.
Vijaya Iyer, Dr. Kristy Miller, Francisca Polito, Amanda Connor, and of course, the one, the only Miss Trina Robbins. So I got everybody right?
You got everybody.
I got everybody. All right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this is going to be wonderful.
So,
I'm just so excited because of the theme for this is the women of comics, and especially working on the books that I've been working on, and the history that's involved in them and all. It's amazing how much contributions women have made to comics. And until recently, I fear that it almost seems like that they didn't get their due, but the amount of work, the body of work that they've done, and the impact they have on comics, and especially in some of their cases, how they run these companies, it's undeniable, and it's a true pleasure to have them on. So I don't know if you think we should introduce them one at a time.
Yeah, let's start. Let's bring it. So we'll start with our first guest that we have tonight, and of course, a wonderful woman has become a great friend of mine. I think she's a great friend and a partner of yours, and basically keeps you and everything together. So everyone, please welcome Debra Tucci.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
There you go. And you look delightful, honey.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm supposed to look spooky, not delightful.
Well, you look delightfully spooky.
Delightfully spooky.
You look adorable. Well, thank you. So Debra Tucci is now. You're not the president of our company, are you?
No, you did not want me to be the president. You're the president, honey. I am the executive director.
Oh, the executive director of Crusade Comics, and someone who works 12 hours a day and makes dinner for us and clothes us.
Not lately, I don't.
Yeah, that's true though. Yeah, with the campaign. But thank you for joining us, honey. And I love the Halloween theme. And let's go next. Who should we bring on next?
And then please let's welcome the president of Coffin Comics, Francisca Polito.
Oh.
Oh, I love the feathers.
Hello, children of darkness.
You are divine.
Hi, everybody.
So we're going to tell our story of. We're going to explain why we're all dressed in costume. Can I do the next guest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Can we have of Hi-Fi Color and Design? The person the team, the company that colors all of my books for decades now, though she wouldn't admit to it because she's only 22. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Dr. Kristy Miller of Hi-Fi Design.
Hi,
Yay!
Christy.
Yeah, decades was a little harsh, but
I know that it does. Nile, do you want to go?
Yes. And then next up, we have a wonderful creator in her own right, someone that is I've been following for a couple years now. I love everything that she's been putting out. She actually just launched a campaign tonight. Everyone, please welcome Sorah Suhng to the show.
Hello.
Love your ears, Sorah.
This was haphazard. I normally wear these anyway. So.
So look at this. We have these look at this is great. This lineup is getting even better, isn't it?
It's getting even better.
So if I may, can I do the next one?
Yeah, but there's one guest I'd like to save for last because she's so prolific.
Ooh.
And you know who I'm talking about.
So who do you want to introduce? I think I know.
Yes.
Okay,
No, go next. Go next.
All right. Well, I would like to introduce a great friend of mine, someone that I've not only been one of my best friends for over 25 years, but also someone that I've had the joy of working with, working for, drawing from her scripts. She is a mainstream firebrand and an independent icon. Who has dabbled, who is a designer. She's a writer. She's an artist. She's an all-around wonderful, wonderful human being. If I may, ladies and gentlemen, the fairy fucking princess, Miss Samantha Connor.
Hello.
Well, it's our show.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Are you going to be granting any wishes tonight?
You better hope not.
Do you want to? All right. And next, everyone, someone who I'm really excited for, another person who embraced me when I first came into the industry, just like Francisca did. When Debbie and I made our way to the San Diego Comic-Con in 1994, right, honey? We were like this. We had no idea what we were into.
Wide-eyed and blown away.
Yeah,
My hood is not cooperating.
This couple came up, and we went up to this couple at their booth, and they just embraced us like family and basically helped show us the ropes and took us around and introduced us to everyone in the independent and self-publishing. Got to meet so many other, my fellow cartoonists, people that I never really met before in my life. And I believe you are the president of Cartoon Books, Jeff Smith's better half, and I could say that, with I love them both. But ladies and gentlemen, Miss Vijaya Iyer.
Yay! Sorry about the last minute cartoon. Not quite as evil as the rest of you.
I know.
Sorry, there's enough evil in the world.
I don't know.
Right, and we have one guest that's coming on in a little bit, right? But why don't you introduce? Why don't we introduce
and then last
the grand dame of comics?
Yes, we in this. I believe a drum roll is in order here. She is a prolific creator. She has lived a life, has just done so many things for the industry. I mean, I can go on and on. She's a wonderful woman. Had a pleasure having her on our show a couple weeks ago. Everyone, please welcome Miss Trina Robbins to the show. Trina, thank you for coming back on.
Yay! Hi. By the way, it's Ms. Do you mind?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And of course, Ms. Robbins in the Cindy Brady box. Sorry, Francisca, you're Jan.
I want to be Marsha.
Marsha.
So speaking of our little Brady Bunch configuration, a funny thing is actually that we were at a convention, right, honey? And we were in the green room, and some of the women sat. They thought you were a Brady girl, right? Like
they thought I was Cindy Brady.
That's so funny.
I'm like, no, I'm just the wife of a comic creator. I'm here grabbing lunch. Gotta go back to the booth. See you later.
Well, Niall, look at this.
There's so many. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through. I'm just scrolling through comments right now. I have over 100 comments to catch up with right now.
Wow.
Seeing what we have. Whoa, we got some whoop whoop hot mama. There we go. Tucci.
Oh dear Lord.
Hi, Deb.
Hey,
Crystal. Hello, sweetie.
Hey, Kissel.
Hi, Kissel.
So, Trina, how are you feeling? You were a bit under the weather last week?
Yes, I had a mystery fever of 102.3.
Oh.
And I went to the emergency room and stayed there all day while they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And of course, they tested me for COVID-19 twice, and I didn't have it.
Wow.
So,
Good.
I brought my fever down, and I went home, and I'll never know what was wrong with me.
Well, at least you're better.
Yes.
Indeed, that must have been scary. Jeez.
You had the mysterious.
Oh my God!
You had a
I have to tell
mysterious
you,
virus, and now it's gone.
I have to tell you, I woke up, feeling so sick, and I was shaking. I was shivering. But before I woke up my partner and told him how sick I was, I fed the cats because they always come first, even if I'm on my last legs.
Priorities.
Priorities. Well, thank goodness that everything has worked out, and you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
And we love your hat with it. Is it like you said? It's a fairy world. Is there like a whole entire universe going on
There's
in your hat?
stuff going on. There's feathers and there's a flower somewhere, and a lot of veiling so that I can look really mysterious if I want. And I think there's a little spider on my veil here.
Nice.
I love that.
It is perfect and very fitting. You look
Thank you.
divine.
Yes.
Indeed. So, all right. So, all right, guys. So we want to get into this to everyone. I'm changing my name. So, sorry. Okay, here we go.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, it was fun. My mustache melted off. It's just the spirit gums isn't what it used to be. So, we both, Nile and I, are just over the moon to have you on, as is everyone in the audience, as you could see. And if we can just kind of go through a little bit of how you got into comics. Because, we understand that, Trina was on our show. Everyone's been on our show for the most part. Christy, I don't think you've ever been on our show. And Vijaya either. Same thing with you. You haven't been on our show. But Vijaya, maybe you'd like to tell ourselves, like, how you came to be. Joanie! Hey!
Yay!
What was that sound? Is that Joanie?
Yeah, Joanie, I think your mic's messed up. Okay, I just pull her out for a
Let him
second.
mute herself. But Vijaya, again, you're the president of Cartoon Books. You've built an empire of joy and bliss and adventure and sci-fi. Just how did you come to being into comics? Were you a huge comic fan growing up? Is this your dream to become the publisher of a comic book company that's known, with a character that's known the world over?
Yeah, no, not really. It basically came about because my spouse Jeff Smith was an animator and wanted to do an auteur piece, and so he wanted to. He came up. He wanted to do comic strips. Comic strips didn't work out, and then he decided to make his own comic books, and those books were not going to be published by anybody because they were weird. So that's how it happened. I just said, okay, you may quit your job, and we gave each other 6 months to make it happen, and didn't really happen in 6 months, but about a year and a half.
It was promising enough, obviously.
Promising, yeah. After 6 months, promising enough to go. Okay, let's keep doing this, and we'll see what happens. So it was I'm an inadvertent comic book person. So.
Now we know that, of course, that Bone is an international success, but also with Razzle and why is it escaping me? Jeez, forgive me for this. But just Jeff's incredible body of work. And I have a question, Vijay. When did you realize you said you're going to give each other 6 months, and after the 6 month period came about, you said, "Well, not quite there, but something's happening." Right, but when did you realize you made it? Was there a particular moment or anything like that that, like, oh, okay, you can do this?
Yeah, it was probably a year into it where I was always watching the finances, and I'm like, okay, don't use the bank card because you're going to overdraw the account and stuff like that. Well, about a year into it, I stopped telling him, like, don't overuse the bank card. So
he was allowed to go and maybe buy a pair of pants or go to buy some lunch, and you didn't say anything about it.
Right. And then I think that's when Jeff realized, oh, this is now something's happening.
Fantastic. Honey, Deborah, would you like to give you okay.
No, I'm dealing with a pesky fly right now. Sorry.
I got one too, I think.
So, how did you get into comics, Deborah?
Because I was in love with you.
We understand.
I was in the textile business, and I loved it, but you needed help, and it started part-time, and ended up more, and then you broke up with me, and then you came back. And at that point, you were in dire need of help and asked me to leave my job, and I said no. But I said I would cut it back to part-time hours and see where it led me, and in the blink of an eye, here I am. That kind of sums it up, I think.
I think that in a nutshell, it's pretty, yeah. And the best part is working with your spouse is that we've never had a fight or a disagreement about business.
At least not today.
Fran or Vijaya, I don't know if you guys are, do your spouses ever sometimes get a little bit ambitious, a little too, and you're like, oh, let's kind of pull back a little bit on that, because I'm like, blah, 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 we'll do this and we'll do that.
No, always supportive.
Now, Francisca, I know you grew up a huge comic fan. I know you did. I know you went to comic book conventions. You wanted to be a comic book writer and artist yourself. And then you met this guy and you said, you should get into comics because comics are great. And this young man, Brian Polito out of NYU, said, I don't know. And you said, no, you should do this. You could do this. Right? Is that, and you dragged him into kicking and screaming into comics. Isn't that how that happened?
Yeah. So I did like comics before Brian and I met, and then but we were both in the film industry, so I did makeup and hair professionally. Brian was an assistant director. He had a script that everybody constantly wanted to change, Evil Ernie. So basically it became a comic book, so this way he could still retain all the rights to the property and make it the way he wanted it. So a comic book was the best way to do that. It was published through a company, Malibu, for a few years, and then it basically became like a little underground cult hit. And let's just say when it came time to redo the contract, there wasn't a lot of eye to eye. So Brian was dropped. And then the next day we started Chaos Comics in the early 90s. And I was like, yeah, good. So then I got pulled into that. Brian's best friend, Adam, came over to our little apartment in Los Angeles and put down some graph paper and stuff. And he's like, this is how you do income and expense. I'm like, what? What's that? What numbers? I do.
Remember those good old analysis sheets?
I was like, I do makeup and hair, and I work with famous people. I was just like, nope, numbers. And then I was a scaredy cat back then, right? Because I didn't know anything about publishing, and Brian would be like, honey, call up the printer, go ask him what the line screen is, and then this would be me. I don't want it. And he's like, just do it. And I'm like, I don't. I'm like, what's it? Line screen's 133. And then and it went from there. So that was almost 30 years ago. So we now have Coffin Comics, and the industry is completely different now. We don't depend on the direct market at all. So it's totally different way of publishing, and it's so much fun now to publish and just sell directly and be in direct communication and relationship with the customers. So our fiends and our sworn. So so that's my long-winded version.
Yeah, I love that. I got to tell you, with the whole thing with selling directly to the customers, and I said I have lots of great friends that are retailers. We still sell to retailers.
Yeah,
friends at Diamond Comic Distributors. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Diamond Comic Distributors. But there's something just so special about selling directly to the customers yourself. That not only is that, again, a lot of them are friends. I love getting, my Kickstarters and Indiegogo packages, and there's like, hey, Billy, we love you, something like that, from your friends that are publishers, because you get to know these people. Debbie calls them all the time on the phone. But it's that they hold you accountable for your work. You don't have that barrier of the distributor or the retailer. And they hold you accountable. If you get something if you ship them something and they don't like it, if there's, so we shipped out mystery packs, and people were like, yeah, that's great. Debbie sent it with a metal card that there's only 50 of them made or 35. And the guy's like, yeah, I really don't like cards. I wish going to another comic or something.
Yeah. And that's why it's called a mystery pack. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's as a publisher, it's life-changing. We've been doing Kickstarters for 5 years now. And we've done it in Indiegogo too. And thank you. And we just launched Hell Witch last week. And so this is our 21st Kickstarter. So we're legal, 21. And our goal is to close and ship, completely fulfill within 6 to 8 weeks. And we are always, we're on track. And it's that, like you said, it's that the customer holding us to account for just delivering really beautiful products on time. And it's a blast. It's just an honor.
Exceptional.
Yeah.
Dr. Kristy Miller, you are truly if Francisca is the queen of Kickstarter, you truly are the Dr. Jones of comics. And I know that you're an archaeologist, correct? Mm-hmm. You travel around the world. You go to Oman Oman you go every year, and digs and all this. And how did you end up? Are you the one that loved comics growing up, and you told your husband Brian Miller, one of the greatest comic colorists ever in the industry? Were you the one who said you should do this? Let's do comics. And no, that didn't happen.
No, kind of like Fran. Brian obviously was into it always. I always liked comics. I knew X-Men and all that kind of stuff, but Brian was really into it. And Brian was 24 and he got his first real job. He was an art director at a real company. And so I was like, great, I'm going to grad school. So I went to get one of my 6 degrees. And,
6 degrees of Dr. Christy. Love it.
I went to grad school and I was like, you could pay for this. That's going to be great. And then I came home from school one day and he's sitting on the couch and I'm like, why are you not at work? And he's like, I have this great idea. And I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, you're going to start your own
I know
business.
that feeling.
And I was like, oh shit. And he's like, I quit my job. And then there was a whole lot of cussing. And he's like, no, it'll be great. I have a client. Great. Client. But here we are, as Billy so eloquently put it decades later. And Hi-Fi is still going strong. And we worked with Brian Polito and Fran really early on. We worked with Billy early on, and Amanda and Jimmy and everyone. And so, we've kind of been here through all of it and got to work with such varieties of people. But yeah, it's Brian who's the artist. But anybody that knows me is shockingly surprised that I run the business and boss everybody around. And we have, right now we only have about 25 employees around the world. That color for us and with us. And so I keep on track of the books and the accounting and all that kind of stuff, as well as teach college, as well as go on digs where I make Brian draw maps and pottery and things.
Now, are you guys doing stuff with the Kubert School?
Yes, Brian and I also teach a class for the Kubert School as well. Yeah. Nice. Digital coloring. Yeah, this is our 3rd one, I think, with them. We're doing another one in fall as well.
Dr. Christy, maybe that you should go to tell Anthony Marquis, the proprietor of the Kubert School, maybe they should have a class on business and the artist.
Yeah, that's true.
We had at school, I went to, Debbie and I went to FIT in the city, Institute of Technology. One of the best classes was the business law and the artist.
Yeah. We get tons of questions that nobody ever knows. And part of the reason that some colorists work for us or work with us off and on, they do their own thing and then come to us, is because, thank you, Evan, is because they don't want to deal with invoices and clients and bills and 1099s and all that. So thanks, babe.
That's great.
But yeah, I agree with you, Billy.
Yeah. Now, Sorah, you're literally soaring right now with your campaign. Oh my gosh.
Look at her go. Funded.
Nice.
Woo-hoo.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Can I borrow some gas money?
Congratulations. That's great.
That's awesome.
Sorah, do you want to tell us about your art book and your campaign? Again, this is for those of you that may not know it out there. It's Kickstarter. This is the crowdfunded campaign like Indiegogo. It's a platform where you put out a product and you have several different tiers, and your customers actually purchase these tiers, and it funds your book being published. And it's revolutionizing the entire comics industry. But Sorah, please give us a little thing on your book.
Well, due to some publishing scheduling shenanigans that happened because of the plague, I had to basically push back my second Carnal book until next year. And I wanted to run a campaign in the fall, and I was like, what I could do. And Brett's always Brett, my manager. He's always told me for the last how many years, like, yeah, you can't do an art book because you don't have enough work, like published work yet. So I was like, I'm bummed out for the last few years. But I was like, hey, why don't I do an art book? He's like, yeah, sure, you got plenty now. And I was like, awesome. So I decided to slap this together, and we planned it over the summer. And it was funny because I didn't really totally have a theme. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about how I got into comics, at least as an artist, not as a fan. And Michael Turner was always my inspiration for getting into comics. I saw his work on Witchblade and everything at Aspen, and that moved me. And so I actually dedicated this art book to Michael Turner. So I did
Cool.
like 3 homages.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
great.
how did you get into comics? How did you get into to the industry? So when I discovered the art of Michael Turner is because of the Top Cows website at the time, and I was in college, and I saw his art and was like, I want to draw like that. And not that I think that I accomplished that goal, but anyways, and so I was going to school. I had missed that matriculation for that fall, so I was working at a Starbucks. Never drank coffee in my life, and then long story short, I was discovered at a Starbucks by Bob Layton. And
Wow.
so he was my mentor for just about 2 years, might be a little less. And but he brought me into the industry. That's how I met you, Billy, at MegaCon Low those many years ago, where you called me out on my 3/4 turn picture taking skills.
What?
That was the whole thing. I put my leg out, and he was like, I see what you're doing there, making yourself look slimmer. And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, that's what Debbie taught me that, right? That was a conversation my wife and I had back in college. They know pose, right? Oh, this is I guess that one pose, right, Deb, with your leg. And I'm like, I know that move. I know.
Yeah.
He learned it very, very early, huh?
Yeah. And I appreciate it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
He does.
So I got into comics that way. Actually, so I started out as an inker because I was working for Bob, and then I left comics for a few years. Got married, that didn't work out. Got divorced, got back into comics, and things have been going great ever since.
Excellent. Well, you are kicking ass.
Oh, you're kicking.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for always doing beautiful Lady Death covers.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I love doing it.
You're an amazing artist. And speaking of another amazing artist and a Kubert School grad, right? Or you went to the Kubert School. I don't know anyone who's actually graduated from the Kubert School. Do we, Nile? All our friends, they get jobs before they graduate.
Andy Smith did, didn't he?
Oh, Andy Smith did? He graduated?
He's such a one-upper. No. He's a great guy.
But Miss Amanda Connor, I mean, you have just in the past decade, and I like to say, I knew you when. Really, I mean, there would be no Suicide Squad movie if it weren't for you. Harley Quinn would not be this cultural icon that she is today if it weren't for you and Jimmy and your writing and your storytelling and the comics. How you took this character who, in my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong, seemed to be a misguided, battered, abused girlfriend to this homicidal maniac, the Joker, and you turned her into one of the most popular, behind Batman and Superman, more so than Catwoman, I'd say. Maybe not more so than Wonder Woman, and today is Wonder Woman, so happy Wonder Woman Day to all you Wonder Woman Day.
Happy Wonder Woman Day.
Wonder Woman.
Yep. But you turned her around and you made her your own, of course, keeping, in line with her more humane, her human aspects and of course the humor and all that Paul Dini did and Bruce Timm. And but just welcome Amanda Conner. I mean,
thank you. Thanks.
And how did you get into comics? I know you went to the Kubert School.
Right, I did. I grew up reading comics. I was really into comics when I was a kid. Every time I would get sick and have to stay home, my mom would be like, "Okay, she can't watch TV all day. Here's a stack of comics." It's like any kind of reading made my parents happy. My dad would buy me Mad magazines, so I've read comics my whole life. So yeah, and both of my parents are artists, and I think my mom was sort of hoping that I would go into this like Georgia O'Keeffe or Marie Cassatt direction, but I was like, I want to draw comics, which made my dad very happy because that's what he had wanted to do when he was a kid. Oh, so cool. Yeah, so he's really good too. They're both my parents are both really, really talented, and my brother, my whole family, they can draw. But yeah, I got into comics because that's what I loved looking at. I was like, I want to do this. So we found out that there was an actual comic book school an hour and a half away. And so I went to the Kubert School. And that's sort of like, it's snowballed from there. And yeah, I'm not an actual graduate from there, but I did go for a couple of years.
Well, it seems everyone gets work before they before you graduate. It seems everyone starts working in the industry, which
I mean, I ended up apprenticing with Bill Sienkiewicz for a couple of years.
Nice,
which was great. That was a whole experience in itself. It was great, and every time I see Bill, I still it's like we've only missed a week of time instead of a couple of years. It's great seeing him. And but yeah, I actually sort of when I went to get into comics, Joe Kubert had told us, he's like, it's going to be the hardest job that you ever got into. It's so much, it's a hard industry to get into. There aren't that many writers and artists, it's a tiny industry. So I just, thought of that as a challenge. It's like, well, I'm just going to have to, be more obnoxious and and annoy people more until they give me some work, which is, I think, pretty much how I did it. I kept harassing the editors until they were like, okay, here's a short story. So yeah, that's pretty much how I did it.
Now, Amanda, if I may, and you've been on our show before, and thank you for every time you have. But for those that may not have watched it, may have missed it or something, when you came, because you went straight into mainstream comics, you're working for, for the big two, or for Archie, for these things like that.
Yeah, my first job was Marvel. My first paid job. My first I had like a few like things that I had done. For like charities and stuff like that. But my first, paying published job was Solo Avengers number 12, the backup story.
Okay.
Which was Wasp and Yellow Jacket. So
you got to draw the Wasp right off the bat.
Yeah, I did. I was like, yeah.
Did you change her at all?
No, I wasn't confident enough. I'm like, oh my God, this is my first job. I have to make everything perfect. So, I made sure everybody, was in their proper costumes and everything looked just so. Now I'm like, if I'm going to do your character, I'm changing the costume. Now it's like, you want me drawing this? Okay, this is how she's going to look because I got to draw it over and over again. So, but yeah.
Did you run into any resistance being in the mainstream? And there were very few women at that time. Now we're going back into the early 90s that were actually drawing.
It was 1988 was when I got my first job.
Yeah.
88.
Did you ever feel, or maybe not just feel, or do you think that you were, or were you ever pigeonholed into them not only offering you, say, girl books sort of thing? Or you think you didn't run into any of that?
I mean, I took the jobs that came along.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, even if I did feel pigeonholed, like I think Barbie comics would make anybody feel pigeonholed. And I was doing that for a long time. And the editor, you know, the Hildy, my editor at the time, like, she was great. I'm like, you got to get me on something else. She's like, all right, I'm looking for you, you know, and then she got me on Gargoyles.
I love Joan.
You know, I was able to work with her, and, you know, she was great. You know, she was like, okay, I can see that you're dying inside, so here's a new project. So but yeah, I've been incredibly lucky with, like, people hiring me and people I'm working with being so welcoming, you know, and so encouraging. The only time I ever remember hitting any resistance is when I walked into my local comic book store in Norwalk, Connecticut, like years and years ago, and, you know, they were like, "Oh, a girl is here," ha ha ha, you know, and they were like, "Well, what do you know?" We started talking, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a comic book artist," and they were like, "Wah!" They like laughed at me, and I just was like, I'm going to show these fuckers, you know. That was sort of like, that was my attitude. I was just like, oh, just you watch, you know. So so that was the only, like, you know, people giving me work. They were always really encouraging. I was lucky that way. I didn't run into any, you know, you hear a lot of horror stories, and I was lucky not to have to deal with that.
Well, I remember your work in the Gargoyles. It was. The Gargoyles.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
was
oh my God, this is amazing. And then I'm like, you want to draw one of my books?
And I was like, yes.
Yeah,
you know, that was like a way to not be pigeonholed. Like when you were like, I want you to do Tomaway, and I'm like, yes, please. So yeah, it was great.
And it was a joy. It really was a joy. And I mean, that book is timeless too. And it was our first spin-off series too. And
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun.
Oh, it was fun. So, anyway. So, Miss Robbins, you now, everyone here, ladies and gentlemen, Trina, you have a fascinating life, and I want to say I have all everyone's books here, but Trina just released this book.
Her latest,
Flapper Queens, and I've dropped it about 50 times because I just keep reading, and it's about women cartoonists during the Jazz Age.
Oh, neat.
And there is this artwork in this book that'll blow you away that I've never heard of. I mean, look at this.
How did we never hear of this?
Yeah. Gorgeous.
You never heard of it because men don't write about women drawing comics. That's why you never heard of it. When men write about comics, they want to write about Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and the Hulk and Spider-Man. So that's great because they left this great big hole for me to fill. And what I've been doing for the past, how many years, 20, 25, have been writing about and bringing back the women who were so incredible and who nobody ever heard of before.
Yeah.
Can I say that I wrote a master's paper on women in culture in comics, and I cited Trina as some of my sources.
They usually cite me. But thank you. And Amanda, I want you to know that I loved writing for you for Barbie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I enjoyed doing Barbie, but at a certain point, like,
I understand,
were so fun, but like the corporation was just like, you can't do that. You know, it's like every time. I mean, I'm sure.
Oh my God, no! They wouldn't let you draw Skipper yawning. Do you remember? They wouldn't let you draw Skipper yawning. Isn't that bizarre?
No.
Are you serious?
So my favorite thing to do on earth, as most of you know, is facial expressions and emotions and body language.
Yeah.
So Barbie's entire emotional range goes from mildly satisfied to somewhat happy. That's it.
Yeah, everything that we did, everything that I wrote had to be passed on by the Mattel people, and they didn't know anything. I wanted to do this one in which Skipper dreams that she's a pirate queen. And
yes.
Listen, they said, Young girls are not interested in pirates.
Oh,
Now, are these men telling you this?
Yeah, of course.
With you, Fran.
People in suits who know nothing.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm
so
sorry,
awful.
Fran has something to say. What was that, Fran?
oh, to the gentlemen that don't think girls want to be cool pirates, I'm saying. How would a girl know what a girl wants?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We don't know much, do we?
Oh my God, those years were just so torturous. Oh,
Now,
but
Trina,
thank you.
now, Trina, for those of you who don't know, I mean, Trina is from New York City, and she grew up in this cultural revolution, from Greenwich Village, and all the way through to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. And I believe you're still in San Francisco now, right?
Yes.
That's where you guys live.
Yes.
And I mean, you talk about a fascinating life. From knowing, you were designed for Mama Cass from the Mom and the Papas.
I did.
You were mentioned
That's
in a
amazing.
Joni Mitchell song of the three women, and the first one's you, Trina, who draws or you paint, right? What you the line?
You don't know the lyrics, do you?
I don't know the lyrics. I'm not. I know the song, but I don't remember the lyrics.
You're a lady of the canyon, right?
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to ask Trina something. Did you live in Laurel Canyon? I mean, were you living there at the time?
Very briefly, actually. Actually, I met Joanie when I was already living in New York. I had a boutique, but I discovered that in February in New York, nobody even leaves their house, so nobody buys anything because the weather is so rotten. And they've already spent all their money for Christmas presents, and they know they're going to have at least one more month of misery. So nobody leaves their house, nobody buys anything. So when I discovered that, I simply closed the boutique and went to Los Angeles for a month. I mean, I had originally come to New York from Los Angeles.
Yeah, and
So
you're like,
I was staying in Laurel Canyon, and David Crosby was a very good friend of mine, and
cool.
he was producing Joanie's first album. So that's how I met her.
That's cool. So do you remember what year that was?
1968.
Oh, that was right before. Oh, I
aged a
moved
bit,
to Laurel
Joanie.
Canyon in 1969.
Oh, no kidding. Where did you live?
I lived on Ridpath Avenue, right up from, like off Kirkwood, right up from the Candy Country store. So,
that store. Yeah. And just like on Sunset Strip, there was this road that went up to the store and up the canyon. And people used to stand there hitching rides up the canyon. Yeah, gosh, I remember that. Because I used to hitch too. In those days, everybody hitched. It was safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
used to hitchhike to the beach. Yeah, we used to do that.
Raise your hands if you used to hitchhike.
I knew you never hitchhiked, Debbie. I was just looking at Debbie. I knew you never.
Forget my father. Can you imagine the fear that man put in me about the thought of hitchhiking? Forget it.
You're not supposed to tell your parents, Deb.
No. My father was very preemptive and scared the living crap out of me at a very young age about
Debbie's
everything.
father is like 6'1" or taller, and he looks like if Chuck Connors and Clint Eastwood had a child.
Jack Palance, and
Jack Palance too. Yeah.
Wow.
When I
That
met
is my
him,
dad.
and I love him, but I said that is the meanest looking man I've ever seen in my life.
That's great.
And there's a funny story. So if I may, I'm going to hijack this. We were in college, and he had a Corvette. So I don't know, it was Easter or something, right? My first time going over their house.
No, it wasn't Easter. It wasn't a holiday. You just
I just
came over.
Okay. And he's taking me. You want to tell the story? Because I'm sure I'll mess it up.
So he asked if my dad was home, and I said yes. He's in the garage. And we walked into the garage, and my father was working on his Corvette that had a little bat symbol on each of the rear view mirrors or the side view mirrors. And Billy walks in, and his brain goes boom. And he's like, oh, my God, Mr. Steffens, you have to let me drive this car. Now, my father doesn't know. My father met him before this for about 3.5 minutes. And my father just looked at me like, is this schmuck for real? And I went, and he just shook his head. He's like, yeah, we'll talk about it, kid.
And that was it.
But Billy was driving that car within 2 months.
Yeah, we went out and everyone got ice cream or pizza and something.
But that was because you showed up in the blood pumpkin, and he's like, my daughter's not driving in that.
Yeah, in a 1974 Ford Pinto.
Oh, nice.
Orange, right?
Yeah.
I called it the blood pumpkin. It was the biggest piece of shit you've ever seen. And he's like, you're not taking my daughter out in that car. You can take the vet. I said, okay.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think that's how it worked out. Yeah.
So, Trina, getting back to it, that when you got into comics, because you've been doing this, you got into doing comics. You were back in the 70s, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, 59.
Oh, okay, 69. So, did you run into any sort of resistance?
Oh, everything. Every possible form of resistance.
Because I could just imagine it back then. I could see the guys working in Marvel and DC almost like.
It wasn't the guys in DC. It was the guys in Underground Comics.
Oh, the Underground Comics.
Yeah.
Wow.
From the very first conventions that I went to, the older guys, the guys who worked for Marvel and DC, they were really nice to me. They liked me. I think they thought I was cute, and I guess I was cute. I was young.
You are cute.
But the guys in the underground, I think they were very threatened by me because I was a feminist. I do know, because it got back to me, that at least one guy once said, "Here comes Trina, hide the knives." No, so they didn't want anything to do with me. They wanted me to just disappear.
Wow, because you look back now and you think of the Underground Comics and this counter, cultural movement, and you would think that would be like embracing the spirit of the 60s and free expression and all inclusive and all.
Yeah, well, free expression meant they hated women.
Yeah.
1960s insult.
Well, you look at Crumb's work, right? Crumb was very misogynistic.
Exactly.
And all. I mean, horrifically, misogynistic in some of it. Did you know him?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was he one of them?
Was he one of
Was
them?
he one of them?
Yes. One of my favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes was Crumb referring to me as a shrill little shrew.
Oh,
I want to use that one day in the back of one of my books, where the blurbs are.
Oh, that'd be
A shrill little shrew. Robert
great.
You know what? I think you should use it as like a quote on one of your books one day, just to think,
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And say thank you.
Oh, of course.
Now, Joanie's thinking 1969. Were my parents born in 1969?
My dad was 9.
Okay. So for those out there, Joanie is an artist. She's a designer. She's a cosplayer. She's a model. Joanie will be gracing our very first photo cover ever. We've never done anything like that. And she would just, right, honey, she would just make such a beautiful such a beautiful Anna Ishikawa. So
Yeah.
And she made, she has this costume and her hair is blowing and she's got.
I dyed my hair black for that specifically.
Sweetie pie.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It looks like a movie poster. It really does.
Nice.
It's stunning. The one I'll show you the one that we picked.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I know. Do we have a teaser, or you can't show it to the world?
Well, it's not. Yeah, I guess, right? I mean, I'd have to.
Can we?
I'm on the PC. I don't know, Joanie. You have it. It's still working. Can you pull it up?
I'm just so excited. I can't sit still. I'm so excited.
I'd have to go and load it up. I could pop away.
Hey,
for a second.
while you load it up, we got a super chat here for Sorah.
Okay, Sorah.
All right, so Sorah, we said, did Sorah ever work for Bob Layton, which you said you did? I remember he had an amazing woman doing design work for him, including redoing his website. I don't believe I ever got her last name.
That was me.
Oh,
There you go.
Nice.
Did you get the picture now, Billy?
Hang on.
That was much faster than I thought. She's like, yes.
Yes.
Well, I
Let's
mean,
see how Sora's doing here.
I don't know how to elaborate on that.
The
Now you're up to
girl.
13. Look at you go.
it's great.
Nice. 13,500.
And I need to like
I'll get to
make
that.
updates, and I'm not posting like at all.
We're good.
It's okay. It's okay.
So, I have a question for Trina, which I'm like sweating. I'm like pouring sweat. I'm so excited you're here. Can I like know just a little bit about your input on Vampirella's outfit?
Oh, I'm so tired of talking about Vampirella.
Sorry.
Okay, I was showing my work to Jim Warren, and I was not ready for prime time, and he was letting me down very, very nicely, very politely and sweetly. And the phone rang, and it was Frank Frazetta, and Frank Frazetta was designing the first cover, the first Vampirella cover. And I could tell by what Jim was saying over the phone, he didn't like what Frazetta had done. And I think Frazetta had simply put her in a bikini, you know. So he said, no, I want something, you know, a vampire collar, you know, but at the same time, I want to show a lot of skin. And so I started sketching what he was saying, basically, just on a piece of scrap paper. And I passed it to him, and he looked at it, and he said, just a minute, there's a young lady here who knows exactly what I want to do. And he put me on the phone with Frazetta. And I simply described the entire thing to him. And that was it. That was it. I never met Frazetta in person, but he was very nice on the phone. And what I got out of it was supposedly a lifetime subscription to Vampirella, except that was when I was living in New York. When I moved to San Francisco, the subscription stopped. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm still friends with Jim Warren. He's a very sweet man. We exchange Christmas cards every year.
That's sweet. That's nice.
Oh my goodness.
Great.
That's
So cool.
exciting.
That is so cool.
Oh, my heart's pounding. I'm just so excited.
I found the cover. I found the cover. Now, of course, we got to add some things to it and stuff like that. But can I pop it in real quick, Niall?
The first
Yeah,
Vampy
sure, if you
cover?
want.
Sure.
No. I don't. No, this is Joanie. Is our first.
Oh, Joanie's
modeling
cover. Oh,
Our
yeah,
first-
let's see.
Our first like photo cover that we've ever done in 26 years, and we met Joanie at San Diego Comic-Con, and we just adore her, and she is so talented and just.
Tell us the cover.
All right, here it is. This is what I want to use. There we go. Okay.
Man,
How's that?
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's cool.
I love it. We're going to zoom in, but I love it. Right, Deb, this is the one?
Well, it was that and one other one. I thought we were going with the other one, but I'm happy with
Well, I'm the creative
That
director.
looks so good.
That's so cool.
Now,
Like I said, we had it when you and I spoke about it. We had it narrowed down to that one and the other one, and we really weren't. I thought you said you wanted the other one. I like them both. They were both beautiful. They're all beautiful.
well, see, I'm the creative director, so I think now, Vijaya, Vijaya, do you guys ever have things like that? Like, okay, what about this design? Does Jeff ever show you, say, a design for a cover or two, and then you pick the one that he did not expect you to pick? And then you go, and then there's a discussion.
You're putting me on the spot.
No.
I am an editor with no final say. So usually I have an opinion. Usually he takes it, but he does not have to.
Now, Vijaya, did you, again, we talk about resistance in the industry, and you coming in, you guys are an independent publisher, and you really took the industry by storm. I mean, how many Eisners did Jeff win, within a year of Bone #1 coming out? I mean, you guys really were thrust into the spotlight. And I remember hearing some things because you were the president of Cartoon Books, And even then, in the 90s, I remember there was some resistance from other independent publishers even. Do you care to go into that, or we don't want?
No, I don't mind. We were disruptors. We weren't the first disruptors, but we tagged along with the original wave of independent comics like Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles and those types of books. But the thing that we did that was different was we collected our books, and that enraged the comic book industry because that they felt like it demeaned the value of comic books. Like we had comic books were worth an exorbitant amount of money, but we weren't interested in that. We were interested in keeping our books available and readable. And the only way to do that was, we did printing. Bone number one, I think we printed at least 10 printings of it until we went, this is stupid. Then you got to do the second one and the third one. It's like, just put them all together and then it's easy.
Easy peasy.
It's easy. But yeah, no, we made some people mad, and that's okay.
Yeah, because I remember we had that conversation, and it was in Chicago or New York or San Diego in '94 when we were talking about that, to collect your books, collect the things. And I remember that I was told specifically, do not reprint that She Number One. Remember that, Deborah? And because the retailers they're selling these books for $25, $50. I never made that money from it, so what did I do? I wanted to reach more people, and so I ended up reprinting the comic, but I didn't call our She Number One a second printing. I called it the Fan Appreciation Edition. And we dropped
totally different.
Yeah,
Good for you.
Completely different. Put a new cover on it, drop the price.
Yeah, we printed them over and over and over. It's a logistical nightmare to reprint comic books over and over again. To print a graphic novel over and over again, it's a little bit simpler. But yeah, fan appreciation, and you didn't piss any of your retailers off.
I did not, and I dropped the price to $1.95 from $2.50.
Well, that was the appropriate way to do it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I was going to raise the price or keep it the same or anything like that. So, but speaking of that, Fran, I want to thank you and Brian, because I was at the San Diego Comic-Con in 1993 waiting on these massively long lines trying to get work from Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the editors at Marvel, who shall forever remain nameless.
Name him.
He actually called me looking for a job like 3 years later because he had gotten fired or let go for when Marvel imploded or whatever. And I'm not saying he worked at Marvel. It might have been DC, but no, it was Marvel. But I remember he sat there and he opened up my book because for some reason you had to draw a warehouse scene. Everyone's drawing warehouse scenes. I don't know. I didn't know anything. So I did a Daredevil story or something with a warehouse. Yeah. And I brought it in, and no, it was she cop stuff. And he goes, "Oh my God, look at this! Another effing warehouse." Now there are hundreds of people online to get to Amanda, you remember that? I don't know if you did the whole portfolio review thing.
Portfolio reviews, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, look at this! Charlie, another." Effing fight in a warehouse. If I see one more person show me a comic with a portfolio with a warehouse, I'm going to punch you in the face. This was
wow.
It totally embarrassed me. So I'm now crestfallen, and I end up making my way to the independent pavilion, or the small press it was,
where the cool comics are.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And exactly. And there was Brian with, I believe, Stephen Hughes and maybe Jason Jensen. I think he had a 3-foot table. It might have been a 6-foot table, but it wasn't bigger than that. And he had Evil Ernie comics out and stuff. Yeah. And I showed him my work, and Brian Polito was the first pro, and I hope he was a pro by then, making a living doing it, that treated me like a peer and treated me with respect. And I told, and he was like, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, it's my new comic. It's my character I have and something." He's like, "Why don't you do your own?
Yeah.
You know, do your own. Next year you could be right here on, you know, maybe you know you could be here set up with us, you know, at your own table, like you know, like us." And right, honey. And I remember I came back from San Diego, and I'm like,
on fire.
Yeah, I'm like, I was driven. Then I got driven, and when I get driven, it's scary, you know. And I was like, I'm making my own comic book. That's it. We can do this. Remember that, Deb? I mean, Debbie's like, we can do this.
Well, let me ask you though, from your guys. So, from your opinion, for Deborah, Francisca, Vijaya, Dr. Christy. I mean, when your husbands, boyfriends, whatever they were at the time, were like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." I mean, what were you thinking? Were you 100% on board, or were you cautious? I mean, what was that like?
Well, for Brian and I, we were living in Studio City, California, right off Laurel Canyon, and
back to Laurel Canyon today.
Yeah,
absolutely. But basically, it was for us. It was we didn't really have anything. We had a little 600 square foot apartment. You know, we had Ernie as a comic. We had our careers in the film industry, and comics was just something that was like a little beacon of shining light. And we were like little moths, and we were just drawn to it, and it was exciting, and it was fun, and all the other independent publishers were so cool, and it was just such a wonderful opportunity to be creative and to be with a group of creative people to just create, you know. So I was like, this is cool. I remember going to my first Comic-Con, just like realizing that it's not just comic book art. It's not just superheroes, that there's just so much, and there's just so many stories and so many wonderful creative people that it's just such a cool industry, and we're just so blessed to be in it. And seen.
I'd like to comment on what Billy said about how he was treated by that editor, because, you know, sometimes it's really interesting. Sometimes editors, because they have a tiny bit of power, they get very nasty, you know, and I've had experiences like that, and those people are no longer working in comics, by the way. I hope at this point they're learning how to say, "Do you want fries with that?" Yeah. And I just want to talk about one experience that was kind of similar. Okay, when was Xena happening? Was that the 90s?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I was a huge Xena fan. I think it was the San Diego Con, and there was I think it was Topps that was publishing them. It was the Topps table.
Yes.
There were Xena comics. So I go over to this guy who's standing behind the table, and I say, "Hi, my name is Trina Robbins. I've written Wonder Woman, and I'd just love to write Xena." And he goes, "Oh, we don't need anybody." You know, he doesn't go any further than that. So I just walk on, and there's a woman behind the table too. So I thought, what do I have to lose? And I go over to her. And I say, "My name is Trina Robbins, and I've written Wonder Woman, and I just would kill to write Xena." And that woman was Renee Witterstatter.
Nice.
And she said, yeah, she took my email and gave me her email, her card, and we talked, and I wound up doing a two-part Xena story for them, which I'm terribly proud of. And after that, unfortunately, Renee moved on, and the next editor was a guy again. And once more, he wasn't interested in what I had to say. But the point is that Renee and I have remained friends, and will always be friends. And, you know, I don't remember the names of the other two guys.
Right. And especially there being at Topps, I'm sure they've gone the way of the dodo.
They have.
Comics, you know, so...
Yeah, there's a great question here from Patrick Wedge. He said, "I would ask all the guests, what was the moment you felt that you made that jump from just doing comics to influencing comics?"
Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
We know Patrick. We love Patrick.
I don't know who wants
Amanda.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's a really, because like every step you take, you're like, this is great, you know. And I mean, this, I'm speaking for myself, but every time you or every time I, you know, jumped to like a new title or a character that I was really in love with, it always felt like, all right, I've made it. So I mean, I feel like I got respect when I went from doing Barbie to doing Gargoyles, and the guys, you know, Disney owned Gargoyles, but Buena Vista controlled it, and the guys working at Buena Vista was like, yeah, you got a great style, just, you know, do it in your own style, but, you know, make sure that they, you know, look like the Gargoyles on the animated show. And I'm like, oh my God, they like my art style. And just as long as I make it look recognizable, they're really happy with it. So that was a milestone for me. And then when I got the chance to do Vampirella, I was like, oh my God, I love Vampirella. I'm so glad I'm doing this. So like, I guess like, I felt like I finally made it maybe like 10 or 12 times.
It's varying degrees.
Yeah.
And what about you, Sorah? I mean, with your work in self-publishing and all that, I mean, you're not just making comics, you're influencing, you're inspiring.
I don't when I saw the question, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
Oh, come on.
I'm like qualified, to be honest. Like, I mean that in a real serious way. Like, things have been going really great for me, and I'm very thankful, but like, I've only been professionally penciling, like drawing my own stuff since 2016.
Oh wow!
And so I mean, I drew before that, but like, you know, actually doing it and getting money for it. So, so yeah, I don't actually know if I appreciate the question. I just don't know if I qualify for that question.
I'm going to make another $10,000 in a half hour on Kickstarter.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You qualify.
Yeah, over $14,000 in less than an hour. That's incredible.
To answer then, I have not felt that, I guess. I just, you know, I mean, I said this before in an interview, actually specifically with the Coffin Comics interview that I did, where it's like, you know, I saw everything that Brian was doing, and I love Lady Death, and I love everything that you know, Brian and Fran are doing, and like, I just kind of decided that I wanted that level of freedom. And so I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. Like, I took from them and was like, I'm running with this idea. So.
And even for Joanie too, for you as well. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of followers on many social media platforms and things. I mean, you have the art of bringing the characters that, you know, Amanda draws, Billy draws, you know, even potentially Sorah's work. But you bring them to life. I mean, you've gone from, you know, doing that type of work to you are an influencer. You know, that's what you do. I mean, how has that journey been for you?
I think what's really, really fun is I love showing love to comic characters that don't get enough love. Like, I'm like, why aren't you reading this? Why aren't you looking at this? Like, do this. Like, when I remember, I think I was 19 when I first cosplayed Vampirella, and I was teeny tiny. I'm still fairly teeny tiny, but I definitely can't fit that one anymore. But but like it started, you know, I don't know, that was a long time ago. That was almost 10 years ago. So when that was going on, still I didn't see a lot of Vampirella cosplayers, but now I'm starting to see it, like, now that I've been on a couple covers, and I'm sure that like helps influence it. But regardless on why they're cosplaying it, more people are getting it, more people are looking at it and loving these characters that I love. So just getting those characters the attention that they deserve. She has been wonderful. Like, when I started posting pictures and little teasers about that, people are like, finally someone is cosplaying She. And it's like, why haven't you seen her yet? She should be everywhere. She's a badass. And I adore her, and I love being able to be that person that not only men see, but women see, and then the world sees. It's awesome.
Now, Vijaya, as a businesswoman too, I mean, helping, or pretty much running the company and stuff as the president. I mean, you too have an influence with everything that's going on and a hand in those matters. I mean, do you see, have you ever had the opportunity to mentor anyone that you've seen, that you've met at cons or whatnot, that maybe has been on the managing end of the business?
I mean, generally, every once in a while, someone who is a creator will ask me questions about how to proceed, but it's not really. I mean, the business, I do the boring end of the business. I'm like, I do contracts. I get books printed and distributed. I do licensing, and it's just, it's not something that in this day and age, our business model doesn't really work for the modern world. I mean, you see a lot of Kickstarters going out there and things like that. And we're kind of an old fashioned business where we publish and print our books, and we don't do crowdfunding or anything. I think that's the next wave. And I think that there are a bunch of people here that are taking advantage of that.
So you basically do all the real work.
I do the boring work.
You do the important work.
Right. Important work.
It's important.
Yeah, I see Debra doing the boring work, but she does the boring work for 12 hours a day, it seems. And I'm like, I'm going to Subway. I'm like, you want to stay? She's like,
I've been doing the boring work and the heavy lifting. So.
Oh, me too.
I can't lift. I tore my bicep muscle until Thanksgiving. I can't. I want to. I do.
Right here.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Hi, Billy. I should have asked you how long this was going on. I thought it was going to be just an hour. I haven't eaten yet, so I have to leave.
Oh, go eat.
Yes.
Go eat indeed. So listen, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Pushing the Flapper Queens. It's a gorgeous book, I can tell you that.
Gorgeous.
That was like so thank you, and I'm afraid I have to go.
We love you, Trina.
I love you too. All of
Thank
you.
you, Trina. Have a great night.
So, Nile, can I just talk about the influencing thing?
No.
Yeah.
For
No.
Yes.
So for
You stole my costume idea.
Look at this handsome man. Look at this. Look at this guy.
Aw, there. Hi, Jeff.
I just came to see the person who does the real work here.
Right.
She does.
That's
too.
right.
Go back to your room and draw.
I got to pull the chain.
So during the chaos era, we realized that we were a small independent publisher, and that it was going to take like a miracle for retailers to pay attention to even want to order a chaos comic book. I mean, and especially a girl book. So like Lady Death, it's just like, we don't know who she is. So for us, it was, what do we do in order to, damn it,
Duck stick.
It's funny. No duck stick. So that's when we came up with the chromium cup. No. So we came up with the chromium cover.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and it was the first time anybody's seen a chromium cover, and that like freaked people out, and we got a little hype about that. And then we did the first ever leather cover. I mean, we literally had the printers at our house, and we're like smelling samples. I'm like, that does not smell like leather. That does not smell like leather. And I'm like, leather. We did that, and then we did the first ever velvet cover, and then more recently we did first ever metal cover and jewel cover. So for us, it was a must to create something that was exciting for people to see and to remember us by. And launching Friday is the first ever coffin shaped cover.
I saw that. I saw that post.
Is the whole comic book like a coffin?
Yes.
It's a coffin-shaped cover. We're doing it in metal, and we have a coffin-shaped print. Luckily, nobody else is called coffin-shaped coffin comics, so hopefully nobody will do that one.
Of the book.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been dying to. I saw it and I fangirled out so bad. And
Isn't it cool?
It is super cool. Does it? I'm dying of curiosity. Does it open from the top or like the left top part?
Right in the middle.
It is the exact same size as a normal comic. It's got the saddle stitching, and it opens like a normal comic, and then all the art is configured specifically for that.
So that's cool. That's amazing. So you realize in order to compete, you guys had to do something. And that's where Brian came with this idea to make this chromium cover.
Yeah.
Of this book. And that's really what struck you to the top. And what helped us out was that we had another female lead because I was told girl books don't sell.
Exactly.
Deborah? And thank God for you guys that your book sold out so fast. They were looking for the next one. And I don't know, lo and behold, this little modern day samurai comic came out right after
That's
that.
It.
And thanks
That's
for that.
it.
Now,
what was it called?
What now? I'm sorry.
I can't
He said, what was it called?
What was it called? Shy. Now, Vijaya, you guys did a black and white comic. Now, we were all told black and white comics were dead after the Turtles, right? Remember the black and white explosion, 85, 84, 85, 80, 83, 84, 85, something. And then that's a great idea.
It's we'll be coming out with the Coffin Comics Coffin too one day. I know that.
So that died. The black and white explosion was gone. I mean, you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they made the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters and all this stuff followed. And then you guys come along, and Jeff wants to do a comic. And did Jeff want to do black and white because that was with the comic strip he had done at college, or did he think about doing it in color? And did you get any resistance? Like, no one buys black and white comics. So they said, and then look what happened. So,
well, it was all we could afford.
Oh, really?
That's so great.
So great. To create decisions based on financial limitations.
Yeah, no, I mean, back in the day, I mean, in the 90s, printing a color comic was extremely expensive. Because it wasn't digital. It was all, the plates and all it was super expensive. And for our print runs, which were hilariously low, it wasn't possible. It just wasn't possible. So
how did you guys discover how to distribute your comic? How did you learn how to get a comic into a comic shop?
Oh, that was done. Part of the 6-month plan, 6 months to make this work. You don't just go, hey, I'm going to make a comic and maybe someone will buy it. We wrote a business plan. We took out a small business loan. And so it was, Jeff did the legwork. It was like, figure out how you're going to get comics out there. What's it going to cost? How are you going to break even? So, I mean, he kind of did most of that, the legwork, and I helped him with the P&Ls and that stuff. But yeah, no, we had to figure it out in advance. And remember, the comic book industry, it's so simple. Even when there were multiple distributors, it's non-returnable, and it's kind of it was a nice market for creators back in the day.
Yeah, it was very creative friendly.
Oh shoot! Oh, it's an update. We got an update here.
Whoa!
Source what?
Nice.
Your art book. You are crushing it. An hour and a half into the campaign. Okay, thank you.
Could you imagine how much a Bone omnibus would do? It would be insane.
Oh my God.
It would be insane.
Right. Ready? It's convention. You must do it. You must do it.
And it's all done because I have a bunch of them. But Vijay, if you guys do write an omnibus volume 1, right? Just let's say, and it's 400 pages, 300 pages. Vijaya, I think you guys would do $200,000.
Let me write this down.
Yeah, write it down.
Let me take this down. Okay.
Oh, they'd crush
That's a great
200,000. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they would crush. You would crush
Yeah.
200,000.
You would crush 200,000.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to do that with the Scholastic deal, or?
Oh yeah, we carved that out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
our one, our big omnibus is now in the 25th printing.
Wow.
Wonderful.
So the nice thing is that Scholastic does their books in color, and they go in the children's section of the bookstore, and our big book, the big collection, goes in the graphic novel section. So they don't care. And we sell just such a marginal amount of books. They don't care. So.
Well, have you guys considered that? Have you guys talked about doing a crowdfunded campaign to do an omnibus of the collections of Jeff's, various titles?
We have not. Crowdfunding is not something we have thought about. I mean, we've talked about it, but we're old school, I mean, I'm not saying we would never do it. And I think that there's like a huge benefit to the fan base when you do these kind of bundles and things like that. So it's not out of the question. It's just not something we've actually,
The interesting thing about doing the crowdfunding is it's for us as publishers, and Billy and Debbie, you'll know this too. So we're on our 21st Kickstarter, and we're on next we'll do chapter 13 of Lady Death. And now in the comics market, if you got chapter 13 of Lady Death, the retailers, this would be the ordering cycle, right? So chapter 1, Lady Death number 1 would be like, blah, 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 blah. And then by the time you got to 13, it would be like, right? And that's unfortunately the way the industry goes.
Yeah.
For Kickstarter, our first Lady Death did 75,000. Our last Lady Death did 300 and something, 40, 70, something.
Like something. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm in Hellwitch right now. But it's just so every time it gets new fans, every time it goes up and up and up. So the crowdfunding allows you to build your fan base, build new people, and it goes up, which is so completely opposite of the comics industry. It's mind blowing.
So let me ask you this: so how do I'm sorry, I am ignorant of crowdfunding. How do your fans who have on volume issue 6, 7, 8, 10, how do they pick up the back issues then?
They're available. You can buy the entire library. So every time we put out a new chapter, we have all the other chapters available. So we'll have the complete library available. So you can buy the new one, or you could buy the whole, the whole library. And what's really cool is for us is every time we have a Kickstarter and, you get an extra 100, 200 people buying the whole library, and you're just like, holy shit, it's just, I mean, that's because it's 14 issues at $26 a piece, and it's just, to me, that's new readers, that's new people going, I want this book. So it's not like the 90s when a limited edition Lady Death was 250,000 was a limited signed edition. It's not really that market anymore, but people are now more intense and more willing to buy either the standard edition or a bundle of like lots of cool different editions or original art. There's just so many more opportunities to give the fans exactly what they want, and feel free to.
Yeah.
All right. I am.
You would just think, like, look at it, say a bone, and you could call it an omnibus. You could call it something like that. And it would have, a Jeff Smith drawing on the inside of every, a little phone bone or something like that on the inside front cover, which I know Jeff does because Jeff and I were doing our dueling San Diego Comic-Con exclusive signings the same time. You know, we were live streaming at the same time, which we probably should have done it together. It would have been a lot of fun. We could have played off each other. But the cool thing is that the fans, right, they really react to a crowdfunding because they feel like they're part of it. They are really. The success depends. So
They are part of it.
You guys have done so many as well. And it's a team thing. It's almost like a family. It's like all these fans that we've known, right, Deborah, from 1994, we're friends with them. So many of them become family even. These people that just started buying our books, and then like, you know, what are you guys doing later? You know, want to get a drink? Want to go to? And they become lifelong friends. And it gets, well, look at me. She does all the work, but I'm like, it gets easier every time. I'm a cartoonist. What am I going to do? You know, but you know, I'm like, blah, 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 you know, it's easy. But Deb, if you want, I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to say to Vijaya that when Fran went like this, you should, because there is nobody in the industry more generous with their knowledge and their expertise than Fran and Brian.
Yes.
The gratitude that Bill and I have to both of them is unending. And you know, they really, not only were they groundbreakers with Chromium Comics, but they're really carving the way for all of us. So take her up on it, even if it's just fact finding. I called her many, many times before we ever jumped in. It is scary, and I know exactly what you guys feel like. It is petrifying.
It's just it's a new marketing model, and it's something that we just haven't contemplated. You know.
But what's cool is that you also reach a new, the new readers you get, people that have heard of it but never went to a comic shop. It's amazing how many people have never been into a comic shop but know about comics. That, you know, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook.
Well, you get a global market also, which we found out Comic-Con at home was an incredible experience. I mean, Comic-Con's global.
Yeah.
It was.
But it's like that. That's what it's like, right? I mean, remember the San Diego at home, and we didn't have to spend any money to go to San Diego. I mean, you know, it was great.
5,000 people watched Brian and I's video on how to color comics.
How many?
It's crazy.
5,000.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Although I do like getting together with everybody at San Diego and having dinner and a cocktail. I'm just saying.
That is fun.
I did that in the comfort of my own home. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I just want to really quick, I just want to bring up Mark C's other super chat for Sorah. Everyone back Sorah's campaign. I saw her. I actually love it. Hang on. I saw her work at Wizard World Chicago in 07, 08, right before Leighton moved to Florida. She had shorter hair then. Her work was great then and has only gotten better.
Like her hair.
It was super short, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. So if I can go, if I may share a screen to share something, Francisca, that I had shared and Amanda the last time we were all on together, but it's one of my favorite videos.
Ew.
Yes. No. You guys are going
to share the Hell Witch video?
I don't even remember.
No, we will show Hell Witch. Absolutely.
Okay.
We will, yes. We'll share all the campaigns. But I want to share a video that was San Diego Comic-Con 1994. When
I was so young.
NBC News came by, and we ended up getting on E! Network, right, Francisca?
I think so.
Jeff Smith won 47 Eisner Awards.
Yeah.
And he had a suit on. when he went, remember, he was all dressed up.
So
he got all, you guys look like $1 million. But may I share this screen? Deborah, do you mind?
Do I have a choice?
No.
We don't have a choice, Deb. We have no choice.
None. Zero. Billy.
And this is us defending girl books or comics with women. So here we go. And it's so funny because it really is a time lock. And you'll even hear what we're saying about men or boys buying comics with women. It's pretty interesting. So
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, hang on.
From KNSD, Denise Yamada, Roland Smith, and Joe Lazura Weather. KNSD First News at 4.
Hello, everyone. I'm Margaret Radford in for Denise Yamada. Move over Superman, it no longer takes a male superhero to knock down the enemy. We visited the San Diego Comic Convention today and found that
Make it full screen, bro.
Oh, I'm not? Hang on. Hang on.
The comic convention always draws a crowd. People can't wait to get their hands on Superman, Spider-Man, and
Gotta do everything.
I mean death in Japanese, and she's hot.
But she's not a bimbo. She has intelligence. She has depth. She does not have the boom boobs and the overly curvaceous body. She's realistic.
Some people might dispute that, but the fact is, readers love her.
Look how cute you are.
I know.
So cute. Powerhouses.
Oh yeah, I like tougher women. You know, I'm not explaining like more independent type women.
Independent of them, but because they don't need a man to bring them through everything. So.
You tell him, Shiloh.
Yeah. Need a man to help problems. In one obvious way, she stands out from the others.
Yeah, very well endowed.
Her hair looks soft.
Look at that little angel.
And other rude things, but once they read the story, they realize that she's very cool and she's more than a breast or two breasts or just one big huge one.
The story and things that weren't there 20 years ago.
Hey, Dan.
But still the sex is there because sex sells.
But their creators, nearly all men, deny practicing a sex sells strategy.
She does show skin, but I think tastefully. I mean, I'm going to keep the comic book tasteful.
Personally, that there's nothing more beautiful in the whole world than a female form. Wonder Woman has kept her form for some 50-some years, but some things never change. Teen boys are the primary readers of comic books, and many don't really like girls.
Very generous.
Still, it's not an equivalent balance. I think we're alone now. I think it's reflective of our readership and sometimes of our creative pool, still being primarily male.
Then again, Superman never had a swimsuit issue. And
That's right.
He should have. Especially
That's
if it's
what
him.
you think.
San Diego Comic Convention runs through Sunday at the San Diego Convention Center.
Wow. So young.
Wasn't that cool?
Hey, Brian Miller, were we there in 94?
I don't know if you were there in 94.
I don't know. I was asking Brian Miller. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if we went
Did
94.
that work? Did that work? Because I had it on. I wasn't on the main screen, so
It worked. It was a little choppy. I felt I was like a little cut off a bit, but you know.
You look great, Fran.
You look adorable, Fran.
Oh, thanks.
Impressed that your eyebrows were not over tweezed 90s eyebrows.
They probably were.
No, they were great.
I like how she noticed your eyebrows.
I was living in LA. I probably couldn't afford to get them done back then, so it was just like, this is it.
And here's my pal and the current writer of She, Stephen Perros. It's time you admit you really don't like girls. Deborah, I really don't like girls. But I did like I didn't notice you standing on your tippy toes handing someone a book in the early part of that scene.
Always on my tippy toes, I'm sure.
That's right.
I'm a fan of you standing on your tippy toes, to say the least.
Hey now, get a room.
With windows.
Yeah, well.
So Joanie. Now, Joanie, you've started dabbling in some new stuff, right?
Oh yeah, a little. I started voice acting.
Fun.
Nice.
Which is funny because it just doesn't use my face, which is what like my business is. But it's I don't know if I would say it's more fun, but it's definitely more relaxed and more enjoyable. But I voiced this character on. It's called That Monster Show. It's this like little gremlin character, super cute, but it's like Halloween themed in a way. It's very fun. But yeah, I mean that I wouldn't have been there without doing the cosplay thing, being on comic covers and kind of going into there.
Momentum.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's so fun how many things branch off from something so small that began so small.
Now, where can people see the show?
Thatmonstershow.com. Very easy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a good title, huh?
Yeah, it's so easy to remember, right? What is it?
Show.
Oh, That Monster Show, you know.
Can we put you on the spot? Like, do you do a voice?
Oh, so the funniest thing, so I did actually like I think 4 voices, but my main character is in the first episode that you'll see, because we've actually finished the first episode, but it's honestly, I just make gurgly noises. It's really fun.
That's great.
She's like, oh, wow, wow. And that's all she does.
That's adorable.
She's like this little tentacle girl.
That's adorable.
That's awesome.
It was so fun.
That's
like
so
the whole
awesome.
Time, I'm just like screaming into the mic, just.
Oh, I love it.
So fun. That's probably been my favorite avenue that cosplay's gotten me into.
I bet.
Oh, that's cool. You'll have to share the link when those episodes go up and everything. You got to share it.
Yeah, our first episode just finished. If you go to like, it's tinyurl.com/watchtms. So That Monster Show. So pretty easy. That's our first episode. Hopefully we get a second one. We'll see. I've already recorded for the whole season, but we're trying to get the animation. Animation is expensive, so.
Very expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah. But it's a cool style. It's a very cool style.
And before we go to Dr. Christy, I mean, I know your background, you said archaeology and stuff like that, and you're also doing the comic stuff. But I mean, how has that been managing the different worlds?
Surprisingly, they go together. Go figure. But I think you were talking about the influencers and all that, and it's not really influencing the fans as much as influencing us. And I think that Brian and I kind of had an aha moment when we realized that, he's this great artist and super talented, but kind of like Billy said earlier, he's like, I have this idea and this idea and this idea. And so how do we focus that? And then I am very scientific, very organized, and very detail oriented. And so when we started putting those things together, that's actually when Hi-Fi took off. And so the two brains working together is kind of what makes us so successful. And that's how come the two different careers kind of go together. We can play off each other. And my background is obviously in education as well. And so like when we did our Kickstarter, Brian, I've written 5 books, I think, and mostly on how to color comics and how to do what we do. And he writes the how-to part and I write the curriculum, the assignments, which is why we do the Kubert School. We also have a Patreon that we do. We have Twitch videos that we do all the time and stuff on how to color comics, and not just comics, but art in general. We talk about art history and all kinds of stuff. And I think, again, putting those two pieces together, actually what makes us stronger and makes us work together. And we really don't fight. We are together all the time. We travel all the time in a normal year. And he helped write the database that we use on my dig. And he does all the mapping for us when we're on my dig. And then we do comics at night because we're 12 hours difference on the dig. So we dig during the day and do comics at night. And it works for us. And they kind of overlap and come together. And he can actually do the demonstrations and the art and things like that. And then I can actually help explain it or remind him that, he's not Bob Ross and perhaps we should ask a question here or something. Not just a happy tree, but that kind of about 10 years ago, we started doing that because I was actually at San Diego Comic-Con and I saw all these how to draw, how to ink, how to get into comics. And I'm like, where's the how to color book? And they're like, we don't have one. Somebody can write it? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I do. And so that's kind of started how we started working together in that aspect and not just the business and the art. And that has kind of worked for us throughout the years. And so it allows us both to do what we're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Amanda, I think there's a theme going on here that you see, like with Jeff seems a lot like me. Brian seems a lot like me, and Brian Polito seems a lot like me. And then we have, Vijaya, Dr. Christy, Francisca, Deborah, how you kind of rein us in to kind of hold us back. Amanda, you and Jimmy are both artists. You're both right brain people, I assume. How do you guys make it work so well that what you've done is, and you guys have literally changed the face of mainstream comics, of DC comics for sure, that now you have Marvel making rip-off characters and things like that off of your work. How do you guys make that work? How do you and Jimmy, are you both, are you more center-brained, or are you and you're analytical as well? Are you?
I am not analytical at all.
Obviously it's working really well.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's hard to it's hard to say. Jimmy, he's one of those people who is really good at managing stuff. He knows how to manage. He knows he's also somebody who does, really well with Kickstarter. He loves Kickstarter. And, after we're done with the last Harley book that we've been working on, we're going to try and just do all of our own own stuff.
Great.
And launch on Kickstarter.
Do it.
Yes, we're doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. My art brain just sort of, I have this bizarre combination of ADD mixed with OCD. So I get really hyper focused, and I can only concentrate on one thing at a time, and I have to make it perfect. And I'm trying to train myself to let go a little bit, because it slows me down and it clenches me up. And Jimmy has this sort of let's just do it, and he's really good at getting stuff done and getting it done quickly and managing it. And I don't know how to do that at all. So we work well together that way. If he tells me, he's like, okay, draw this, I'm like, I can do that. Or when we write together, he does he sort of puts all the puzzle pieces together, and then I just sort of put some shine on the puzzle pieces. I work on the dialogue, and that's sort of my specialty, character voices and stuff. But yeah, we work well together because he has strengths that I don't have. And that works. The problem we have, we hardly ever fight, but when we fight, it's always about some sort of work related thing, because we both think we're right. We're both kind of type A personalities, so it's just but yeah,
cover, right? The cover design, right? You want to go.
Well, that's the thing is, I have sort of this sensibility where I like to tell a story in one picture. That sort of Norman Rockwell thing. It's I have to throw everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy has this sort of amazing design. Jimmy used to design, work in an environment where they designed movie posters for Clint Eastwood, and so he has this incredible design sense. So sometimes I'm just okay, this is just turning into a garbage dump. What can I do here to make it look like a beautiful design? And then he can go, okay, do this. So yeah, we have strengths that we play off each other, which works out really well.
Excellent.
Now, when you guys are laying in bed, do you guys is it hard to fall asleep because you're bouncing ideas off one another?
No, that's not where I thought that was going.
I'm just seeing who's paying attention here.
You had us at bed and bouncing.
If we go to bed at the same time, I try not to. I try and keep work talk to lunch. If we've gone out, now we don't really go to restaurants anymore. We'll go have a picnic somewhere, and we'll talk about it over lunch. And I try and have certain times where I talk about work. Otherwise, Jimmy will talk about work all the time. He loves to talk about work, loves it. So I'm just okay, now So when we go to bed, I want to talk about other things other than work. So yeah, It used to be, like, we would go to bed and I'm like, oh God, he's talking about it again. Yeah. But yeah, because he's like, I call him the overturned garbage truck full of ideas. So yeah, but yeah, so it's like, I'm trying to get him to like pare down and focus a little bit more, and then he sort of encourages me to like, hey, just try this, So we're it's been a long trek to get to that point, but we're almost there.
We're kind of the opposite. I have this ability to multitask. I have one of those weird memories that I can remember like everything. And so I always know our calendar. I know the due dates. I know the clients. I know the contracts. I know everything in my head. And it irritates the hell out of me that he doesn't.
Jimmy used to get really, really irritated with me that my brain didn't work the same way his did. And I'm just like, I cannot wrap my head around that. And now we've gotten therapy. Yeah. So he's realized like, okay, this is how her brain works and this is how my brain works. Let's see how we can make it mesh.
Yeah, we've together too. Because I can talk about stuff right before I fall asleep and I'm not going to think about it again. But if I bring it up, he's going to think about it for like the next 5 hours. So and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. My bad.
Yeah, that's me. I'll I'll obsess about it. So
Brian and I have now gotten to the point where we've realized that if we don't create a complete publishing plan for the next year, we're just like, so it's just like, so that's what we're working on right now. And then November we present it to the employees, and we have all the Kickstarters lined up, everything for Diamond lined up, every sale on our store lined up. So it's just like everything is done. We know what's due when. We love creating reverse timelines, all the unsexy stuff that people don't know about. Thank you. I'll be here all week. But yeah, so it's just like we find that if we can get that done, that we can then have room to think about other things other than
that's really smart
work all the time.
That's really, really smart. Does that allow for like wiggle room for, maybe a change in direction?
Absolutely. But the good thing is if it's all planned out, you can just start lining everything up. And then if anything does change, then it's just kind of easy to just switch everything, right? So then everything just gets switched within the timeline.
See, Debbie, that's what I'm telling you we should be doing.
Oh, Billy.
You're lucky you're in a different room. You're lucky you're on a whole nother floor right now.
I know. I know
if Debbie brought it up, you wouldn't listen.
Now, can I ask you guys something, all of you? When the day ends, can you? Now, I know Brian, Fran, I believe you have Brian has a home office. I don't know if you have one as well.
Yeah, we're right next to each other.
Okay, yeah, and our studio's we're all in our home. But are you guys able, and Jeff and Vijaya, I know you guys have a studio and everything like that. Are you able to leave it at home when you're done, or is it never ends?
What's at home?
You do, Fran?
No. I mean, it's literally here at home, so it's always at home.
No, but I mean, like you have your office. And then for the day, when the day ends, do you have an ending of the day? Do you guys?
It depends. It depends on where we are at in a project. It's just like, so if everything's kind of handled, just like let's go to Sedona or let's go for a hike. If we're doing a Kickstarter, we're like, how's it doing? So it depends on where we are with in a project.
Yeah.
So that's, and it's also the conversations. Are they fun conversations, right? About business? Y'all know. So it's like, is it the conversation of like, holy shit, this is doing great. We love this. This is amazing. The fans
rock. Or quit using the debit card.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or is the conversation, is there a possibility that we could get a printer for the direct market that won't fuck up every single fucking book? So there's all these kind of conversations.
Language.
Oh, so are you not allowed to swear?
No, you can. You can do drugs on here. It's fine.
How about you, Vijaya? Do you guys have a...
Excuse me. Okay. And what else did these people do about books now?
No, I think that the healthy thing is to. It's not completely possible, but to try to not talk about things after a certain point. Like, you know, I mean, like your bouncy bedtime is not the time to talk about what's going on in the business. That's just, we've done it before and we're like, why did we do this? Why did we start talking about this? Now we can't stop thinking about it.
Right.
Last night, so for instance, this is fun. Last night we got our first, but we sold the rights to Bone to Netflix. We've done this half a dozen times, and it's always turned to not great. But so last night we got an email from Netflix because they're they're on West Coast time, and we're getting ready to go to bed, and they had sent their first storyboard that they had they'd acted it out, and we both said, we're not going to look at this right now because maybe something will happen. Maybe something terrible will happen, and you don't have that at bedtime. So anyway, long story short, we watched it this morning. It's amazing. So awesome. Finally, something good.
Yay! Yes. I'm so happy to hear that.
That's so good.
Out of the day, and we have separate places that we work, so that's also kind of like,
because your house is so clean.
I know. I'm in love with that living room. Like,
me.
Jimmy was calling the bubble chair the sex chair.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Filled with debris. I mean, you just can't see it. Hey, Wesley. Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
It's awesome in here.
Oh, so cute. Yeah, Amanda and I are mid-century modern fanatics. Both of our houses have tons of mid-century modern. So as soon as yours came on and I saw that bubble chair, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go over and swing in the bubble chair.
I think there is a meeting. I'm sorry. I think there's a meeting on the horizon about crowdfunding for
bubble chairs.
Vijaya and Francisca, and I think you're gonna have to drink that bottle of wine that's laying down and sit in the bubble chair and.
Yes. Yep.
Sorry, Deborah.
No, I was just going to say, when I first saw the bubble chair, my first thought was, Amanda's going to love that chair.
I love that chair so much. I do. I love that. Yeah. Like Francisca said, I'm like such a hound dog for mid-century modern. I love it so much. It's beautiful.
I'm going to tell you the sad part. That chair was my reading nook. I planned it to be my place where I sat and read. It makes me car sick.
Oh no!
And you were moving, and so.
At least it looks good.
It does. It looks beautiful.
It's great. Next, we'll do a show on like all of our interiors of our house. Amanda and I can do our like mid-century. It's like, this was made in Denmark and
This is gonna be like comic versions of cribs.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'll be like, my kitchen is also my bedroom and my bathroom and it's also my van.
and we have to do it during Christmas so that we could see Debbie and Billy's beautiful house during Christmas.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all Debbie at Christmas. Yeah, we're not.
It's all Debbie all the time. Who you cook for?
Yeah, I know, but I didn't want to leave him out. He's the host of the show.
Look at this. I got airplanes. I got toys hanging.
It's like a 13-year-old's bedroom. Action figures and airplanes.
And most of the stuff is from
But you have to see Debbie's tree. She posts a picture of it on Facebook every year. It's gorgeous.
Yep.
Gorgeous.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
It's
That's
really
from the
nice.
movie. My rocket.
My wife was like, "We need to do that with our tree," and I'm like, "No."
Well, Deborah, do you want to tell the secret of your tree? Everyone likes your tree.
That I work on it for 4 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you buy snow. She buys the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Instead of tinsel, and it's not my secret, it's my mom's secret. They sell bags of snow. It's a little torn, styrofoamy, plasticky stuff. And it's amazing the difference it makes. And I literally stand on top of the tree and make it snow on top of the tree so it falls the right way.
Nice.
Find the blank spots, and I literally chuck the snow at it.
So on this topic,
So
Brett
pretty.
needs to slide in because
Yeah,
Sorah
Brett.
and Brett, right? You guys do that whole. You do like the whole like Christmas decorating stuff, right?
Yeah. So between the middle to end of October to
Zooming in.
we end up going down to Virginia and the Washington D.C. area because Brett he moonlights for how many years now?
Yeah.
He moonlights as basically a commercial decorator for the holidays.
Cool.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because I just like decorating trees and the holidays. So for me, it's just like I just get to do it, and I learned all the tricks that he's like developed over the years and stuff. I was going to ask if the tree that you have is a real tree, and that's why you do that versus getting like a fake tree that's flocked. So,
Deborah.
That's for Deborah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is your tree real?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and I'm really sorry, Sorah. I didn't mean to be rude. I can hear everyone but Sorah for some reason.
Oh.
Really?
Sorah wanted to.
Lip reading. I got a few words in there.
No,
Sorah wanted to know if your tree is real or if it's fake. It's real. Sorah, it's real.
It's a real tree that my
You're
husband
welcome.
absolutely positively dreads purchasing with me every year because
Every
I
year.
look for a very specific shape. I get very OCD about Christmas trees. I have no idea why. I'm not OCD about anything else on the face of the earth. But I know the shape of the Christmas tree when I see it, and I make and pick up trees and move them around and spin them around.
I get all dressed up. I wear my flannel shirt, right? I got my leather gloves.
Like a lumberjack.
They
I get
they
I got my
recreate the
work
Christmas
boots
story.
on, and I'm like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, this one's good. This one's great.
This is a great tree.
Yeah.
And then you haggle with the guy. He's like, "I'll throw in some twine." You're like, "That's a deal."
Yeah.
Deb, I hear you. I totally get it. Yep, I get it.
But I see it. I know it. I'm like, that's it.
Speaking of trees, though, Brian Blevin says Amanda will have to show off the Christmas tree room. I'm almost 100% that Amanda and Jimmy has that tree up right now. It's probably still up.
Somebody knows us because, I love decorating the tree, but I hate taking it down. Yeah, there was one year where it stayed up till like May.
And Blevins was like, "Is that a?" We see in the chat, Blevins, who's a producer on the show as well. He supposed he goes, "I think that's a Christmas tree in the background."
Well, it's funny because
And the
we
lights
left
are on.
the lights. So I have like one of. I was like, I just couldn't do real Christmas trees anymore, just because it was so hard to like. And I love them so much. I love the way they smell. I love the way they look. I just love everything about them. But at a certain point, I was like, okay, this is just too. If I can't, undecorate a tree, cleaning up after a dead tree is just like wrecks me, right?
Nightmare, right?
Exactly. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get an artificial tree, but it's gonna be spectacularly artificial. There's not gonna be anything real about it. So it's this weird like pole with silver branches coming out of it.
Yes.
And so it's like it's like there's no mistaking it for a real tree. And that's the one I put up, but you can't really put lights on it because it just looks like somebody decorated an antenna on top of the house, so like every year I try and like position these sparkly lights under it. And this year we just left the sparkly lights up. We were just like, the lights are pretty. Let's just like let them turn on at 5:30 in the afternoon every day. So yeah, we left the lights, but yeah.
Last year was the first year Brian and I were home for Christmas. We've been in the Middle East for Christmas for the last 5 years. And so Brian went crazy last year. He bought all kinds of shit and put lights up everywhere. And I mean, and we have like 5 trees. And I'm like, dude, who's going to take all this shit down? And it was like February. He's like, you think we should take this down now?
Billy, I'm feeling much better about myself. I at the end of January, and I'm feeling bad about myself. Then I'm like, these are my people.
Yeah.
Well, who said it? It just sucks taking the Christmas stuff down.
It does. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
because putting it all away.
Yeah, fall is so great, and it leads to Christmas, and then New Year's is so great, and then even kind of January, but Valentine's Day, and then you have February and March.
Yeah,
and it's just
that is my
long and sad.
Oh, you're kidding? I'm in Arizona. It's just like, it's winter. Outside.
Yeah, Francisca and I live in Arizona. We're like, we're cool.
This is great. I'm like, coffee in the morning outside and happy hour outside now at night. I'm like, woohoo.
And we're just putting on our layers. Like, I just want to get to my car. I just want to get to my car.
We're like, it's 75. It's perfect.
Oh, it's beautiful out.
Mm-hmm.
It's still hot here. It's still hot.
I'm sorry. Is it moist? Still moist?
It's actually the past couple of days. It's been dry and 89, which is nice. Yeah, that's not so bad. But it's like the first time in the past 3.5 months that it hasn't been 92 or up and sticky. It's just moist outside. It's like
I finally had a birthday under 105.
I hate moist air. Ugh.
Yeah. So
humidity.
Another question here for Amanda from Brian Benz. I have a question for Amanda. Does my bestest friend Jimmy ever talk about me anymore? I'm asking for a friend.
All the time. That's one of the things that I said, okay, we can't talk about that at bedtime anymore.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
No.
Right.
I don't know, ladies.
It's been fun. 2
We've
hours.
had these ladies on for 2
Oh my God, is
2
it?
hours.
Wow.
I gotta pee.
But, so I'm going to run through some things real quick. Sorah's campaign's doing great.
Yay! Go girl!
I have to make posts.
I know. You got posts to make and thank yous to do. And
then, this went up.
Ooh. And it went up. Awesome. And then we got Hell Witch live right now.
Yay! Go girl!
Woo!
Vijaya, take a look at that number.
That is impressive.
That's the third. That's the third chapter in her book, and we only do her once a year.
Wow. All right.
So that, and the fans, they love it. We have another character called La Muerta, and we do that book once a year, and then we do 2 Lady Deaths a year. So we'll do 4 Kickstarters a year: 2 Lady Deaths, 1 La Muerta, 1 Hell. So yeah.
You got the wheels are turning, definitely.
That's what.
Brilliant.
Grease them up.
Yeah, like, no joke, or I mean, like in all seriousness, no joking. I mean, if you brought Bone to crowdfunding, I think your minds would be blown. Just how, because it doesn't take that much. The only thing that you have to do is there's a lot of organization, involved, and that's where talking to Francisca and Brian about actually creating your levels and how you're going to do it, how you're going to promote it is huge. On how you get
mailing.
it, you'll see. You're mailing, shipping,
mailing.
Yeah,
mailing. Jimmy's mailing out right now. He and Patrick are like killing it, trying to mail out a bunch of Kickstarter packages right now.
Yeah, no,
we hired. Yeah, Brian and Francisca actually do fulfillment for a lot of other companies too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a 4,000 square foot facility, and half of that is warehouse and fulfillment because we have our own online store, so we do really well with that. That's a big business, but we just hired another 2 full-time employees just to help with all the fulfillment. We're in the process of fulfilling Chad Harden's Kickstarter, latest Kickstarter.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, he's so
great.
sweet. Him and his wife.
We
Joy
love
are
Chad
so
so
darn.
much.
Oh,
Love
he's
him
so
so
awesome.
much.
Yeah, so they were just out last week. They brought the stuff. We went over everything. Boom. We should probably be able to get that out in 2 days.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Yeah, you have
We got a
like
great team.
you've got like a whole like thing like that's a machine you've got going.
It's a machine.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a machine.
And then
It's
we've
a
got
machine.
the monster show. And after you guys,
I know who you are on this. This is adorable.
I know.
This is so cute.
This is great. And I
Oh
put
my
the
God,
link.
that's
I
so
put
cute.
the link in the chat, and I'll put the link in the description of the show for you guys. So if you want to head over and watch the pilot.
And
Okay.
That's
Check
my,
it out.
my husband is the werewolf.
Oh,
That's-
fun.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Affair.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's great.
Very cool.
Oh my
Good luck. I
God.
wish you the best with that. Good luck.
Congratulations
I hope this takes
on
off
that.
for you guys.
Thank you. It's a dream job for me, so hopefully it takes off somewhere. We're working on it.
It's adorable.
The monster, the werewolf guy looks like Andy Belanger. Do you guys know
Yeah,
who that is?
Do you guys know Andy? He is. He's an amazing artist, but his passion is to be a professional wrestler.
Oh,
And
That's the
does
best.
it. He's called the Animal, right? That's his. He's just the
Animal Bob Anger. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
got a Kickstarter going now also.
Oh, does it?
Does he?
Yeah. I think a
And we
Kickstarter
can't-
or a Go. Like
Huh?
I think so.
Oh,
Or Indiegogo, yeah.
And
Wait.
we can't forget She Return of the Warrior is still up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're ending in in 2 weeks or so. We're ending the campaign.
Less than that.
Okay, less than that. Great. Yeah, we're almost done. Well, Debbie's almost done fulfilling. I haven't done anything.
Shocking.
But, yeah, now here, what we did, Vijaya, is that we did both Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Those
I
are the
was
main
going to
platforms.
ask about that.
Yeah, and
Do that.
well, we wanted to reach the widest audience possible, but that's crazy. It was a lot of we made over 70 on Kickstarter, and we did 21-day campaigns, and the same thing with Indiegogo. But we're and Brian Miller, thank you, the colorist of She Return of the Warrior, and Haikyo, our new book. And we even have so we have a level here. If you see Vijaya,
57 drinks.
57.
57 drinks.
That'd be
All
like one.
57 drinks will be live.
57.
That's
So
going to be 57 sips. I can't
Uh-huh.
drink 57
57
Don't sell
drinks.
yourself short.
So Amanda,
You could do it, girl.
This came about 2 weeks ago or so when Debbie started to do the fulfillment, and she was by herself. And Nile, if you could scroll down, you'll see there she
Oh
is.
my God. Oh
And
my
she's
God.
at the American Legion Hall, which they've been so great allowing us to use and all. And she's been working 12 hours a day. I'm like, you need a drink. And she just looked at me.
That look right there. That
She
look
needs
right
an
there.
assistant.
Yeah, she does. Yes, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do because we have so many friends that want to help support it, but they don't read comics. The majority of our regular friends, normal friends, if you will, are the ones that we grow up with. Or they don't read comics. But well, what can I do? What do you need? Like, no, you got to buy a comic. Like, I don't want a comic book. So now I'm like, this is a way for you to support the campaign. Buy her a drink. And 57 people did it. So we're going to do a show on November 6th, and we're just going to get Debbie loaded. I'm going to light the fire, have her sit by the fireplace, and I'll have our niece Emily, hopefully, or Matthew, who Emily also worked on the campaign, and just give Debbie drinks. And everyone will order a drink.
The wine.
So whoever said I should hire an assistant.
That was me.
I have 3 part-time assistants now.
Perfect. Good.
My niece Emily helps me with printing and sorting and that kind of thing. And then Philip Russert and Mike Granzini and Mike Kellison have been helping me pack stretch goals and box. So without them, I would be very much farther behind than I am.
Yeah. The goal looks like we'll be hiring a full-timer.
Distance, but it's inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Vijaya, they already have that infrastructure. She had, that they can do all that. I mean, they've published hundreds of books.
Stop with the peer pressure.
Enough already.
No, Francisca, I'm calling. I'm going to call you.
I'm going to say, she's going to call.
Niall will give you my number.
Okay.
Don't tell anyone. But Vijaya, I have to ask. I mean, can we possibly set up and put you on the spot a bone show? Can we get you and Jeff on just as our only guests?
Well, I'm going to have to ask. I'm going to have to make some calls.
Yeah, right. Yes. Just have your people call Sorah, and then Sorah will message me on the message line, and then I'll call Francisca, and we'll see what will happen.
And then I'll email everybody.
Yes.
And Jody will make it happen.
Yeah.
And Amanda and I will go to Starbucks.
I'm in.
All right. Well, hey, thank you everyone for joining our panel tonight. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. It's so nice to see all of your wonderful, lovely faces.
Yeah.
Always great seeing yours.
And lots and Brian, Christy, we'd love to have you and Brian on. I want to talk to you guys about that next week about doing about coloring and just coloring in general, but coloring our comics that you guys have done. And
sure,
but I know how swamped you are. I don't know how you guys sleep.
It's fine.
Well,
Sleep's
ladies,
overrated.
This has been incredible. I know it's a big panel, and hopefully we get to cover a lot of things. But it's a delight to have you guys here. I mean, so many of you have been such longtime friends, and some new friends here with Joanie, and we adore you, and it's so that you're going to be She Live, cover. And Sorah, I'm so proud of you with just in the first 2 hours you came.
So great,
impressive,
and just thank you all. It's been great, and again,
thank you.
Francisca, thank you guys for literally giving us the inspiration to get into comics and to accepting us. And again, you, Vijaya, you and Jeff took us around and introduced us to the Moors and Batten and Jackie and Charles and the whole indie scene, all the other self-publishers. We truly appreciate that and we'll never forget it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And thanks for letting me sit up here in the corner. It's fun talking with you guys.
We love
making
you.
weird comments.
You're great. Are you Greg? Are you Greg?
Thank
Grady?
you for.
I think he's
I'm
Greg
Greg.
Brady.
You did great,
Thank
Greg.
I'm Bobby.
Wait.
Thank you for
who's
facilitating
Sorah?
our match.
What's Sorah's position? Who was the middle kid?
Peter.
Alice.
Oh, hey, Peter.
Peter.
And Joey's the youngest one in curls.
I'm Bobby.
Sorah's Peter.
I'm the one that's not supposed to throw balls in the house, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm the maid.
You're Alice.
I love Alice. I love her.
I need a maid, so that works out. It's not me.
All
All
right,
right.
everyone. Have a great
Happy
night.
Halloween,
Thank you so much.
everybody.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on POPXP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the POPXP and over on Instagram at the POPXP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.